if there's content that's borderline, that's content that we basically will not.
There is no second best. There is no second best crypto asset.
I respect you, and I have a great deal of appreciation to you, JF.
Hello everyone and welcome to JFGT Tonight. Sadie Edwards says, let's fucking go. JF big brain knowledge drop incoming. Don't expect too much knowledge drop for tonight. I'm just reviewing the news and we'll see what's happening out there. As far as these scientists' disappearance go, I think there's a little bit of bullshit in these stories because it's just a general net saying, oh well, here's all of these scientists that have disappeared in the last 3 years in weird circumstances, but I don't have a baseline. Is this an abnormal number of scientists disappearing, or is this a normal number? Because a lot of people are disappearing. Mama JF disappeared. So it's like, how do I evaluate the probabilistic distinction from the norm? Are we in a special event where too much scientists are disappearing, or is this just the rate that one should expect at the given number of scientists we have? I have no clue. And then when they bring the research of these scientists and they talk about, oh well, he was researching anti-gravity. Well, anti-gravity doesn't exist. Won't exist, and so I and it's like, well, nuclear, anti-gravity. Well, is there a link between all this? I don't see it readily. However, I think it's a plausible story, the idea that hostile foreign regimes might just want to pick one scientist at a time and just weaken America in general. And it's going to come at some point. That thing will come at some point when people show signs of dissent or that they're taking too much of an original direction. They get canceled first by cancel culture. And if that doesn't work, if that's not enough, eventually the people who organize cancel culture will be willing to drop money on assassins. Basically, cancel culture is what people use because assassinations are just too hard. That's really what it is. So they try publicly assassinating your reputation. Ty Rogerson says, if they keep any context out of it, they know their superlatives will grab attention better. Exactly. Because when you see these titles in the Daily Mail, an anti-gravity scientist has been killed. Now you read the Daily Mail article. Okay, so they've been killed 2 years ago. And it may or may not be linked to anything else that any of these other disappearances that are happening. So it's like Daily Mail has this way of titling scientist has been killed involved in anti-gravity, and then reveal in their article, well, it's 2 years ago. Oh yeah, and anti-gravity doesn't exist. Well, at this point, you're just dragging clicks. You're just dragging clicks. Reddit Man says, JF, do you think there is some merit to the idea that humanity is in the process of becoming a superorganism? For instance, in the same way skin cells are subservient to the larger human body, individuals are slowly becoming subservient to civilization. Well, of course, that is what my book is about, the Revolutionary Phenotype. the way it happens is through AI, genetic editing of humanity. Yeah, so as far as whether it happens before the genetic modification of humanity, it kind of happens out of just the sheepness of human beings, just out of the willingness to follow orders and the love for authoritarianism that's inherent in those leftists and right-wingers and statists of all kind. You kind of have already a process of submissiveness, which we've seen in the case of the vaccines, COVID, and in the general case of mob phenomenon. And the general case of we don't have individual minds anymore processing actual knowledge and methods. We have just a bunch of social networking reinforcers, influencer systems, and there's money also involved in this. Someone was pointing out, I didn't know about this, that the main financier and content advisor, director of Kiwi Farms and Kino Casino, is someone connected to the Jewish Insider. Very interesting, because there's a reason why these shows and these websites keep gathering information about people like me. There's a reason why they obsess about, oh, JF is a murderer. And they're getting paid for it. There's money involved. And I wish there was some kind of law that makes this thing transparent at least, and that goes after this money. Because you are getting paid to say stupid things on the internet. You are getting paid to lie about others, to create a cultural reinforcement against people. You are absolutely a slave to the system. You're just you don't even think for yourself. Now, of course, if I was Andy Warski, maybe I wouldn't want to be thinking for myself, because when you're that retarded, it's hard to live with yourself. But you're abandoning your own thinking and coverage to interests that are paying you. You're just a worker. You're a slave. You are of no use to your audience. You're just fooling everyone, and you're being paid for it. And someone was revealing also that apparently Andy Warski is continuing on his degenerate lifestyle. Andy Warski's meth whore girlfriend, Liana Taylor, accidentally admits what we already knew in our hearts. Warski and Liana get drunk every single night. She doesn't even remember when the weekend is. She's so boozed up. That doesn't surprise me at all. Years later, years after our encounter, Andy Warski is still the same guy. A man who has no hope to be leaving reproductive beings on this earth, who is just living in marijuana and alcohol. How sad, how sad. There's a point in time in the future where I'll be more healthy than this guy. Unbelievable. Sadie Edwards says, I've seen JF murder several times in debates. Yes, I am a seasoned debater, a master debater. Trump crashing out again. Donald Trump says, who's dumber, Tucker Carlson or Joe Kent? It's very interesting. I met Joe Kent at Dover Air Force Base along with numerous others who had lost their loved ones in war. I said hello to all the families. Kent horribly lost his wife. Her casket was being brought to Dover along with the rest, although he married again quite quickly, in my opinion. Man, this is so dirty, and it shows who Trump really is. It's like you have a Joe Kent who's out of the administration, who's kind of very respectful of Donald Trump in his critique. He's being very respectful of Donald Trump, And he's trying to say, no, I was taking issue with the way the system worked, and maybe Donald Trump is being deceived by it a little bit, but I think he has a good heart. And Trump just says the most vicious things. That he remarried a little too quick after his wife died, being brought back in a casket for fighting for the American empire. It's like, at this point, this attack doesn't tell you anything except about the mindset of Trump. When Trump decides that you are an enemy, he's just going to find the dirtiest thing he can say about you, and he's going to say it casually. Sliffwave says, I want to see JF versus J. Dyer debate. It would end up being like Metapod versus Metapod stonewalling. Well, I've already had a debate with J. Dyer, and the problem is J. Dyer wants to take what I say and make his own interpretations of it. You just said this, you said that, you talked in that way, that implies this. And it's like, I can't progress through this debate in an intelligent manner. Now, you may think he wins rhetorically, or you may not. But in the end, my statement to J. Dyer and in this debate, which was many, many years ago, is nothing else than universal knowledge and truth doesn't exist. You are a local being. Even if there were universal truths, you couldn't check them. And knowledge is local. So to me, even if you invoke a universal, super powerful God in your mind, to me, that's still your mind. So when you say, oh yeah, God is ordering morality all around and he has the truth, you are to me a monkey telling me this. And so I have to evaluate, okay, you have a delusion of universality. You think that you are an infinite being. You think that you can interface or that there is some infinite being out there, but you have no way to verify it because you are a local knowledge gathering agent. That's my point. And it's impossible to make this point in a debate where, oh, you just said that. Oh, got you. Okay, you can play this game alone. Sliffwave says, haha, that's exactly what I imagined happened. I'll have to dig that out for the archives. Pagan says, Jay blocked me when I questioned his understanding of the Trinity. Cope and seed. Pagan sends a super chat. He says, hey, JF, I am the artist formerly known as Dino. How's YouTube treating you? The artist formerly known as Dino. Were you the original drawer of the dinosaur of the Drunken Peasants podcast? Or are you the graphics creator of the Dino Kid, which is very popular right now? All the kids, they love the Dino Kid. There's this game that kids are playing, 99 in the Forest. Holy shit. It's something else. It's I think that these games are genius and they are very interesting for kids. So Pagan says Dino on Odyssey. Do you remember? Dino on Odyssey. I have no idea. I have no idea who you are. Sorry. Maybe Dino. I don't remember. Maybe I've interviewed too many people in my life. 99 days in the forest or 99 nights in the forest is kind of amazing. It's a survival game. Don't starve together type. But it's Roblox style. So you have a third-person character, 3D kind of rough voxel world. You have an evil deer that shows up. And literally the goal of the game is, well, to survive, to make a fire, to have food, and then to go save missing kids. And the missing kids, they're just kind of white blobs. And it's like, oh, I have to save the missing kids. and you gather the missing kids. You save them from the evil deer of the forest. And there are some of these kids are dino kids. That's why I thought about this. They are dino kids. The difference of the dino kid, if I understand correctly, is that it has kind of Bart Simpson's type of hair, and it has kind of a dino look to it. Dino Legovich. Okay, well, Dino Legovich, I remember. Many super chats came from Dino Legovich. I remember this word on my tongue, but if you tell me just dino, I didn't make the link. So yes, Dino Legovich, I do remember you. In any event, a number of years later, I noticed the same person was running for Congress in Washington State and lost. I then noticed a couple of years later, he was running again and lost. Okay, that's a repeat. While I didn't know him other than our brief Dover encounter, but feeling sorry for him after the 2 election losses, I told my people, hire him for the White House, give him a job, make him feel good. He lost his wife and 2 elections. I'm so tired of this, because the Trump rhetorical bashing was kind of fun against the left and the people who anyways don't want to engage on the problems of society. So when you're faced with very irrational people, it's okay to have the Trump bravado and bashing. It's nice, it's entertaining, and you know there's not going to be a discussion with leftists. So you know that this doesn't lose anything. The problem with people like Joe Kent is that Joe Kent is not coming out with an unwarranted critique of the system. Joe Kent is saying there is a deep problem in the way the current government, the current American government, is behaving with respect to Mossad and to Israeli influence. We all know there's a problem. And so when Trump comes with his insults and non-engagement with the point, now it hurts. Yes, Plapides, Alberta just received 10 centimeters of heavy snow. Absolutely, there's snow all around my house. We are in late April. We are past mid-April, and amazingly, there is more than 1 foot of snow all around my house. We thought that the spring was coming like a month ago. A month ago, it was getting warm enough. But we had a last wave of snow, I guess. That is how Alberta works. More effects from the north. Plapides says, actually 15 centimeters. Exactly, that sounds more like it. Because I have more than a foot of snow around my door right now. I'm not going to go shovel it because we're so into the spring and summer. I'm sure it will be melting very quick. I rarely saw him. I certainly didn't expect disloyalty, but that's what I got. He was really a sleaze bag, and some would say on top of it all, a leaker. I don't know whether or not that was true. But next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Kent is a loser, just like Tucker, Candace, Megan, and the rest of them are losers. Well, isn't that fantastic? How it just turns out that all of the losers are the people who side against Israeli influence onto American politics. All losers. They just happen to be sleazebag losers. It's time that the people in charge of the Republican Party, the winning people, Trump, it's time that they address the issue, because they are absolutely enslaved to this country. They are enslaved to these interests, and it shows in their legacy. It's, we will retain Trump as the Israeli president of the US. How did they call him at some point? The first Jewish president? Or something like this. El Salvador has banned the Edgar haircut, a bowl cut style with straight bangs in public schools as part of restoring discipline. This is interesting because it's one of these things where is there a link between the bowl haircut and lack of discipline? Isn't that kind of arbitrary, but in a way right also? In a way, I think it's right. It's the right decision. But I think it's going after a correlation rather than the causation. Like, this haircut is probably, well, yes, it looks retarded, says Sean B. It does. But it's probably being adhered to by males that are more likely to have behavioral disorders at school. And so fighting about the haircut is actually just trying to repress the physical expression of a correlate. I don't know that you're going to restore discipline by banning the haircut, but you're probably detecting with this haircut more Middle Eastern genes, more North African genes. You're probably somehow catching a population that is more problematic. That's interesting that El Salvador is trying this technique. Now, I'm not for massive authoritarian repression of clothing in school. However, there's always limits. There's always something that you're going to have to want to ban, and then the question will rise, well, if we ban this, why don't we ban that? You start with earrings and things that are too sexually suggestive. And then you open up the whole problem of subjective limits. Where is it that it becomes too sexually subjective? Lapides says, JF, you just jinxed it. Now there will be at least another major snowfall before May. Okay, well, bring the snow. I don't actually mind about the snow. I was thinking about going to do the groceries today, but then I saw the snow and I said, no, I'm staying home. Staying in my warm, natural gas heated home. We'll go do the groceries maybe in the weekend instead. But I'm not getting out with that much snow because I don't want to have an unstable drive and maybe slide. So I'll go out only if absolutely necessary. We have clavicular videos coming out of his bar opening. Man, this guy is promoting unhealthy stuff, and it's like these women are paid to be there. This is all built to give you the impression that something important is happening at this bar and that you should be there to get the woman. It's so disappointing because I hurt for all of the males who fall for this, but in a way they deserve it. I hurt for the millionaires who are spending $5,000 a night to be in those bars because they have the delusion that these actresses and these prostitutes are kind of within reach and that they're not there just because they're paid. And the whole use of the female body for attraction to entertainment, or I mean, I wouldn't even call it entertainment. I would say it's just to these unhealthy places of drugs, of just drainage of money, of hyper-priced crap, alcohol, and just terrible music. This is so bad for society in general. And women are lending themselves to this professionally because they think it's going to bring them money, which it does. It does, but it's a small price you get. It's a small price to be paid to just make a display of attraction, to attract and fool males into a place where they believe they can meet a girl. When in fact, all of the girls in there, they've been attracted with free drinks, they've been given money. I hate the tension between the male and the female world and the economic drainage that females are capable of doing onto our society because of this big lie, because of the display, the false sexual displays, which range from everything from just these actresses being hired to kind of kiss clavicular, to kind of display interest in him, up to just straight out prostitutes on the street. There is such a drainage of men. All right, I'm gonna ban this guy because if you're here, it's mostly for discussing with the subjects I engage with or with me, but not to promote other shows. 11th scientist found dead. Now, it's like breaking news, 11th scientist found dead. I would like to truly investigate if these murders are linked or these disappearances are linked. But whenever I click on the Daily Mail article and I read just a few paragraphs in, UFO-linked scientist who warned my life is in danger, found dead at 34, becomes the 11th mysterious case. Now, when was she found dead? So look at the present tense here. She becomes. So you're suggesting in your title that something just happened that stacks onto your observations. Now, when I look at when did that death happen, she died allegedly from a self-inflicted gunshot in 2022. 4 years ago, this girl committed suicide. So the breaking news from the Daily Mail here is that you're adding this girl to your stack, to your count of mysterious death. Now that is anti-scientific. That is exactly what leads you to false conclusions. That is a deep problem of method. The true method you would have to use is say, how many scientists died generally? How many scientists were there in the 90s? How many scientists are there now? What's the proportion of these scientists dying? And you would have to say, if I detect 11 scientists dying at an arbitrary date in 1998, or around an arbitrary date of 1998, then my observations of today are just probabilistic. They're not tied together. There is no reason to believe that they're tied together. But what the Daily Mail instead is doing is collecting all cases that they think they might be able to stack onto a stack of weird death. Those are not breaking news. Those are you practicing very bad science. Pagan says, JF, there was a string of suicides and accidents of scientists working for Raytheon and Marconi about 20 years ago in Europe, as I recall. Yeah, and so that's why I want to believe. I want these investigations to be done properly. But the Daily Mail isn't doing it properly. And the link to UFO and anti-gravity stuff, it tells me that the Daily Mail is not very serious about all this. They're just looking for whatever will lead to the click. So yes, I do believe that there is organized killing happening in our societies. I do believe that people are targeted and people are paid and they are being put onto people to give them trouble. And it goes from cancel culture to actual killing. And I do believe that there may be interests that are willing to fund the killing, the professional killing of certain classes of people in our society, especially people who could be revolted against the system, people who would have shown sign that they are straying away from the known, normie-approved talking points, the dissidents, and scientists in general, perhaps because some other foreign nations, particularly the one that specifically controls America, they may have interest at some point in shutting down America, in not letting America grow, and perhaps in their delusion, they might even believe that anti-gravity tech exists, or that at least the scientists who are pursuing these things are maybe likely to discover things that could be useful. So it's like I entertain a very weird relationship with these stories, because I want this to be investigated, because I want us to find the actual networks of professional assassins that are in charge of destroying lives, that are bothering rich people. Yes, let's find them. But the anti-gravity stuff is bullshit. The UFO stuff is red herring. And in fact, many of these cases that the Daily Mail collects are collected in a cherry-picking way rather than in a true methodological way. Now, the Raytheon stuff, I did hear about it. I don't know the details of it, but it's absolutely realistic to me that people who are so hard into taking controls of various corporations and institutions, they do get people killed. This is what happened to Charlie Kirk in a way. No matter who sponsored this and whether it was sponsored, Charlie Kirk was taken out because what he was doing was too annoying to too many people. And one person or a group of persons eventually had either enough money or enough willingness, and perhaps that's just Tyler Robinson, or perhaps that's a wider net. But a group of people or a single individual decided that Charlie Kirk was to be taken out. Eric Stone says, how are we going to have energy lockdowns when scientists have solved zero-point energy and fusion engines? Well, that's another set of claims that I don't strongly believe in. I want to see it. First, I love fusion. I would love it if it's feasible. But I don't believe that there is some magical zero-point energy way of producing massive amounts of energy more than we currently do. I don't believe that there's this key thing that will come with orders of magnitude further than what we have. I do believe that the universe is extremely limited and that the principles of thermodynamics always come to bite us. So at least Trump is now claiming that we might get a response. He says we will have a response to the killings of the scientist issue within the next week and a half.
10 missing scientists with access to classified stuff, nuclear material, aerospace. They've all gone missing or turned up dead in the last couple months. Based on what you've been briefed, what do you think is happening here? And do you think that this is connected or totally random?
Well, I hope it's random, but we're going to know in the next week and a half. I just left a meeting on that subject, so pretty serious stuff. But we're going to be hopefully, I don't know, coincidence, if you whatever you want to call it. But some of them were very important people, and we're going to look at it over the next short time.
10.
So hopefully a correlation, he says, but we'll look into it. I don't know if we're going to get answers. In the end, these murders should be first resolved individually, and then you can do some work about, okay, is there a tie between the assassins? But if you don't even have the assassins to begin with, that's hard. That's hard. Although the federal police of the U.S. might have enough insight to perhaps solve these murders, some of them that weren't solved yet. Stephen Robinson says, and he's finally going to tell us how much gold is in Fort Knox. That was a promise. A promise, I believe, that was never honored. Trump says probably, maybe, Iran talks to resume this weekend. Not sure about the ceasefire extension. So uncertainty on the side of Iran. And at this point, you have to think that this whole thing about Iran is on purpose, the induction of uncertainty by Trump, because the lines in the sands are pretty clear. America has been moving its goalpost. So Iran has always said, we're not developing nuclear weapons, but we want to pursue these civil nuclear programs that are meant to just produce energy, just like developed societies. And Trump has been moving across the months, moving the goalpost, starting with they can't have nuclear weapons. But eventually moving to, well, they can't have civilian nuclear programs because we couldn't know if it's ultimately used to produce weapons. That's a huge goalpost move that has been attempted by Trump to justify his strikes. And it seems that Iran is in a comfortable enough position to lead the war of attrition. So it's like America is now trying to do its own blockade of the Strait of Hormuz because Trump realized, oh shit, now Iran is blocking the boats of the whole allies of the US and Europe, but they are not blocking their own boats. So they're letting Chinese and other boats pass. So Trump, what did he do? So now we find ourselves with two blockades. Trump started setting up a kind of a set of ships, I guess, that are just pushing back ships into the Strait of Hormuz, threatening them. I don't know, like, if a Chinese ship decided I'm passing, I don't know if America would shoot a Chinese ship down. I'd love to see what happens. Because right now what it seems to be is there's a kind of blockade where the US is setting up a line and just telling boats, please go back into the Strait of Hormuz. So, but I wonder what happens if a boat says, no, I'm passing. Anyways, it's not like you're going to have enough ships to physically block us. So it's like, no, I decide not to listen to your orders. Iran has sought to boost rail through toll payment scheme. Vessels pay Hormuz passage through Iranian banks. U.S. Navy, the vessels seeking entry into the Strait of Hormuz, now fair game for boarding, search, and outright seizure, including for suspicion of contraband. So effectively, you can try to pass the Strait of Hormuz, but you have to be in the good graces of Iran. And if the US doesn't like you, they're going to try to border your ship. Now, if enough ships were to pass, I'm sure that the US couldn't handle all of them. So they could only target selectively a handful of ships. So for now, that's the state of the Strait of Hormuz. It's complete blockade effectively because you have two nations now trying to fuck your shit up. And it reveals ultimately what Trump sees in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump actually doesn't want the Strait of Hormuz to operate. He's using the argument, oh, Iran is blocking the Strait of Hormuz, but Trump doesn't care about the Strait of Hormuz not being in operation. So that leads me to conclude the set of interests that wants this war to continue actually mostly wants the Strait of Hormuz, and I'm talking Israel, US, and the ensemble of nations that are in line with it, they actually want the Strait of Hormuz closed. Now, exactly how long they want it closed and why, that remains a mystery to me, though I know there are people who are more knowledgeable in geopolitics and who probably have their own theory of this. But my conclusion is Trump doesn't actually want the Strait of Hormuz opened. He actually thinks it's a good thing that it's closed, but he wants it closed to his enemies, to China and to Iran. So that is the current state for the Iran war. It's a very soft war at this time. There's not much bombardment happening. All there is a tension and an absence of free circulation on the Strait of Hormuz and uncertainty as to what will happen with it. Gulf shock may spark shortage of world's most critical industrial chemical used heavily in mining, sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid, a necessity, an absolute necessity for those who want to, disintegrate biological tissue. And it seems that there will be a shortage. Shortage of sulfuric acid, which can potentially impact future production of copper and lithium, because it seems that this is used to dissolve the rocks to get a lot of the stuff away from the copper. So it seems like a necessary step to purify ore into more pure extractions of your target metal. Gus Grizzle says they keep polluting the water, land, and air. Absolutely. John Drake says Israel cares about the Belt and Road. Chinese, Iran, Russian power has to be blunted for the Greater Israel project to take root. Exactly. I think it's all part of the Israel expansion of control. So the way they see it, if we don't cash in on Strait of Hormuz, then let's mess with it. So it's effectively resource warfare in a preemptive way from the side of Israel for the purpose of more control, more expansion, and more asymmetric advantage over Iran and its allies. And finally, as a last news item before we close the show, from supply chain risk to national security imperative, U.S. government embraces Anthropic's Mythos AI. In a striking reversal that underscores the breakneck pace of the AI arms race, the White House has directed federal agencies to begin using Anthropic's most dangerous new model, Claude Mythos, despite months of public friction between the Trump administration at the AI company, at the San Francisco-based AI company. They are setting up the infrastructure for an absolute surveillance system, hyper-cognitive world of human supervision. In fact, hyper-surveillance doesn't even begin to qualify, to describe what that is. This is more. They are building layers of hyper-surveillance. That has been existing since the NSA just getting everything on the internet and keeping records of it. But at this point, you're not just going to be faced with the surveillance state. You're going to be faced with predictive, preemptive, hyper-developed cognition. So this is another realm, because not only is it going to have access to everything about you, that the bureaucrats already had this, but they're going to be able to process it now. And now, I wouldn't be surprised that an AI can tell this guy is going to become a dissident in 10 years from now. This guy is going to become a critic of Israel in 5 years from now. Oh, you've been watching these videos of Dieudonné? Oh, you've been watching these videos of JF? You're going to be a problem for us. And these AIs are going to start ordering, give trouble to this guy. Or find something wrong about this guy. Here, let's investigate his taxes. Since he's going to become a dissident in 5 years, let's give him trouble now. And it's going to be beyond what you even can say about yourself. Like, you're not even going to know that you're about to become a dissident. The AI will know, and you're going to get trouble before. You're going to get in trouble before you even know where you're headed. And that is a fundamentally different thing, because the powers of the state have always been limited to after the act. That's the reasoning, by the way, in which we release so many prisoners, on the basis, they have recovered now, they are rehabilitated. So they haven't committed the next crime. We can't expect them that they will commit their next crime. So let us just unleash them into society. So in a way, the state has always been extremely weakened in its capacity to enforce predictively violations of your rights. But with AI, it will be more and more capable to target those attacks. And it will be able to make them targeted enough that people don't notice. Like, I had in my life some observations of things where I'm like, okay, this is the Matrix. This is literally the system has decided to crack down on me. For example, I spent my whole life passing the American-Canadian border without any issue, without much questions, just, okay, what are you doing here? All right, come in. But at some point, I opened a YouTube channel, and I wasn't even political yet. I wasn't even commenting on Trump or anything. Like that was like 2013, 2014. And I start passing the border, and they do full scans of my car. They get everything out of my car suddenly. They want to see everything I bring in. And it's like, okay, I've been put on a list. Now, this sucks, and there's not even a transparent way to say that you've been put on a list. So you're being targeted, and there's so many things in my life that have happened where I'm like, has this been ordered by someone? When the government comes to try to mess with my family, when the nurses try to veer my exes against me, when the liars come to coach my exes how to lie about me, who's paying for all this? Who's ordering all this? Even in fact, when Mama JF disappears, has there been a hit on her head? I don't know. But when I see these events, they tend to congregate and gather correlatively around campaigns against me. And I've quickly realized that once you use your freedom in this world, the whole system turns against you. And some of it might be random, but not all of it can be random. The correlation in timing and that I detect, in fact, that I detect so well that I was able to predict some of them, and I was able to predict, using this technique, I was able to predict the upcoming assassination attempt against Nick Fuentes. And it happened months after I said it's about to come. There is definitely a set of forces that are working in the dark to attack people who the system disagrees with. It's the Matrix revolting against you. It's the agents, as the Tate brothers phrase it. And imagine that these agents are about to become intelligent. That's what's happening. Because the bureaucrats were stupid. And because there are a lot of them, and they're a big crowd, and they're coordinated, they could mess with your life. But they were limited, and they have, maybe some of them have some sort of human conscience, and they're not willing to, participate to these mob cancel culture attacks. But once the bureaucrat delegates his thinking to the AI is not going to give a shit about it. The AI will develop the optimal strategy to target dissidents, and so that the whole system can argue they weren't targeting him. The AI is going to be able to nudge, here's our bureaucrats that we can send against his taxes. Here's our bureaucrat that we can send to inspect his family and maybe find some trouble with the way he raises his kids. Oh, and here we can maybe mess up with his YouTube channel. and get him reported. And maybe, oh, we have these human employees. Maybe we can nudge them to do some reports on YouTube against him. So he's going to lose his job. This is happening. It's already happening, being coordinated by humans. Now, we are entering the era where AI will control it. AI will be launching hits onto humans, and there won't be a single human who knows about the whole conspiracy. Frank Luther Graham says, sounds like a conspiracy theory. The conspiracy is being embedded into a chip so that no one can ever know it exists. See, what's happening is not that the conspiracy doesn't exist. It's that the conspiracy is being taken from the physical world where it leaves evidence, and it's being implemented in a far away computational cycle between the CPU and the RAM that you can never have any insight of. Because at the second where it's triggered, it already disappears from memory. And all that's left are the nudging action within human society. I'm not being paranoid here. By the way, this is not, I do not have a schizoid personality of any sort. I am a man grounded in truth. And I'm telling you, this is the brave new world that's not coming in 2,000 years. It's coming next week.